My concrete mega legal. Alright folks, how you doing? Alright then folks, so we're putting some brakes on this machine to start with, on the homemade dump truck Mark II. So there were hubs, drum hubs on the front of this, or that came with these wheels. So you know, logical thing to do is use them. I'm just trying to route the cables at the minute, and this is what I came up with. I was originally going to put them along with the tie rods, but you know, it's sometimes tricky getting nice angles on cables. So once I found something, I just had to make it work, I suppose. That's why I did the cables first anyway. Was that sort of determined how everything else would go. Anyway, that's the pivots for the pedals. The pedal pivots getting tacked on with a plastic clamp. Lovely. And it's the brake pedal itself. So these plates are just getting welded onto the pivoting member, I suppose. Forming a crank, and there we go. That's the crank. Okay, so need to harness the power of the cables. This will be the cleats that secure the sheath of the cable, and with that made, I'm going to weld it onto a cross member. You know, it was a lot neater and tidier doing it this way. I needed another cross member in the front of that. This is another bit of scrap being cut out to form the cleat that secures the cable ends. Little work, little file. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So with that done, we just need to connect the little seesaw bar to the brake pedal. So I need a little rod. The rod's got a pivot in different directions at each end, so I think you'd call it a biplanar rod. Not a biplane as in the aeroplane, but a biplane as in it's pivoting in two different directions. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. The biplane rod. So the biplane rod's, yeah, you can see the brakes are working there anyway, can't you? Okay, that's the sort of structure of the pedal done, and now I'm going to do the accelerator or throttle, whatever you want to call it. Again, just starting with the pivot itself. Yeah, lovely. Okay, I'll go on there, I suppose. Hopefully. Now what? Oh yeah, okay. So I had to use cable on this as well, but I didn't want to use cable underneath the floor. You know, I'm not a big fan of sheathed cables, so I went with a rod push-pull rod in the initial run, and then there's just a really short length of cable behind it. That's the idea anyway. So that's a threaded bit of tube, internally threaded, and I'll put a thread on a bit of 8mm bar, 6mm thread on the end of the 8mm bar, so to form a little rod end, and that will attach to the accelerator pedal. And at the other end it will run through a nylon fair lead, because I do nylon now, in case you hadn't noticed. Yeah. Nice low friction material, perfect for something like this. Oh dear. Okay, but that lumber nylon needs attaching to something, and we'll just have a little sheet steel bracket for the polyamide. And at the same time we've got to secure the cable inner to that same bracket. So I'm just making a little cable clamp up right now. And this is the finished sub-assembly. So we've got a bit of cable there for demonstrational purposes, and the cable on its holder, and it's the sheath that's moving here. Pretty hard to pick out. The nylon still has dicam on one side of it, so it's blue, white on the back. Yep. We'll just weld that bracket onto the truck. Okay, and with that done, time for the pedals themselves, the tread plates. So if you're lucky enough to catch my dimpling video, this is one of the reasons I made the quick little dimpler. Give a really nice grippy little pedals like this. Even if my foot's completely caked in clay, I'll still get some grip. I was going to make a little folder, but I didn't. Well, you probably noticed that I didn't. That's why I'm using the vise as a folder still, but hey, I'm sure I'll get around to it one day. And here's the accelerator pedal getting welded on. Joined by its pal, the brake pedal. Ba-bump. Bit bigger there, so you don't have to think about where you're putting your foot. You just stamp and it'll hit the brakes. Probably best. I'll just connect up the accelerator. Tell me they aren't the sexiest homemade dump truck pedals you've ever seen, eh? So straight onto the only remaining control, which is the forward reverse lever. If you remember, well, I've got a constantly variable transmission, and that's just going into a simple forward reverse gearbox. So the only control I need to make this thing go other than the throttle is the forward reverse selector. No clutch, nothing like that. Right now I'm just putting a pivot on for the handle. It's a chunk of metal for the handle itself. Cutting off the stock now. It's a what, quarter inch plate. So it'll be a nice heavy handle, you know. I thought the bit my hand was going to touch needed to be even thicker, so this is a bit of 10mm or 3/8. Just going to weld that on. And sculpt it out. Yeah. Okay, and this is the other end. So this is the control that attaches to the gearbox. So originally it was foot controlled. This is for its original design purpose was to convert motorcycles into tricycles. Yeah, little Chinese made gearboxes, and so originally it mount onto the sprocket of a motorbike, and you'd get a shaft drive and a reverse gear. So it's designed for foot operation to select forward reverse, and obviously don't want that, so I welded a little stub onto that splined attachment, and this is a bit of tube I'm turning into a push-pull tube to go between the gearbox and the lever. Yeah, we just put a bit of a recess in that. That's an 8mm nut I'm sticking on the floor. We're going to weld that bit of pipe over the top, and that'll give us a bit of pipe with two nuts in the end of it. What a lovely pipe. There we go. Now all that's left is to stick it on the old dump truck, and you'll probably get a better idea of what I've been on about. Okay, so what have we done? Got the pedal sorted, so we've built a brake system basically. There's only brakes on the front, so I think I've mentioned before. This is only going to go, what, 20 miles an hour tops. I got a nice big brake pedal, and that's absolutely solid. Really happy with how these came out. They look pretty smart, didn't they? Almost professional. They've got obviously die-chem on them at the minute, which has been exposed to heat, so they're a bit of a funny colour, but they'll all end up getting painted black, I expect. The balance system, so what, we've got the two brakes coming up from the hubs there, and a little teeter bar, a little balance bar, I don't know, seesaw if you like, going down to the brakes down there. These are both mounted on Jesus Christ, those welds on an 8mm bolt. You know, the accelerator and brake are mounted on the single 8mm bolt that goes through the the whole assembly. And then we've got the accelerator up here. This is pretty basic. I'm wondering why I didn't just use a cable all the way from start to finish, but I really don't like cables. Not this type of cable anyway. You're really restricted on the sort of maintenance you can do on it. You can't really do any maintenance. It's just use it till it wears out, and then swap it with another one. Once they go bad, you can never really fix them nicely, can you? But that goes down to, we're actually moving the sheath, not the cable. So the cable's solidly attached at both ends, and it's the sheath that moves. That's the only way I could get it to operate correctly. And then what we've got over here is the forward reverse lever. Yeah, I was contemplating mounting it up by the steering wheel, so it'd be more like a forklift truck, you know. And you know, they've obviously evolved throughout the years, but a forklift's just really bloody easy and quick to drive. Everything's in the right place, isn't it? Everything's up by the steering wheel. But I thought, seeing as I've already got the bed pump down here, you know, my left hand doesn't have any other jobs apart from operating that bed pump and the forward reverse lever, so it kind of made sense to leave it there. You know, the right hand doesn't do anything but steer. I've only got one foot that needs to do anything, so we've got a pretty basic control setup here. But that's the forward reverse lever. That's going to work nicely, I think. It's a nice big I don't know, let's sit on it and try. Yeah, that's nice, I think. I don't know. It's one of those decisions I regret for the rest of my life, not having a forward reverse lever up by the steering wheel. But you know, it's not one of the worst problems to have, is it? So that's where we're at. All the controls are done. Pretty much everything is done apart from the bodywork. And I would like to actually take it out and drive it before I paint it. But the thing here is, before I can drive it, I've really got to get these mud guards on, because the mud guards are structural. You know, they're not gonna support the weight of the machine. Those horns, it'll all fold up. So I've got to do the bodywork first, and then I've really got to take it apart to do all the bodywork. Because I need to flip it upside down, finish the welds off. There's a couple of welds here that I haven't finished off, and weld a tray underneath the engine to stop shit getting thrown up into it. You know, I want everything here not sealed, but shielded from rain from above and mud from below. You know, so I never have to really do any maintenance or cleaning on it. I can just let the outside get as shitty as it wants and know that everything inside's pretty safe. So what? And it'll add a bit of structure there as well, won't it? So, but I've got to pull it all apart to do that. So it's one of these things I'm gonna have to completely disassemble the machine, do a few welds, and then I've got a choice, haven't I? I either paint it and throw it back together and it's done, or I throw it back together to make sure it works, then take it all apart again to paint it, then put it all back together. Do you feel lucky, punk? Yeah. So I'll figure out how lucky I feel. Maybe have a bit of a gamble, do the bodywork and paint it, or just if I've got any real concerns, I suppose I can put some of it back together. I'm pretty sure even if I have painted it, I can fix any little problems. So either way, the next time you'll see this is doing the bodywork. Yeah, and then apart from a bit of paint, it's done. About time to, God, I love the steering wheel. Yeah, about time too, folks. Anyway, we've got bigger fish to fry, haven't we? I've got to find somewhere to put. Look, I've got this lovely old still. Last of the all metal stills. I didn't think I'd ever get a still because, you know, I quite like the Husqvarnas and John Threads, but yeah, it just fell in my lap, folks. You know, just fell in my lap. Anyway, so yeah, I've got to shovel all that crap out the back of this thing. But imagine once this is gone, I'll have such a big workshop. I think I'll have to build a canoe this summer because I've never had the workshop this clear. You know, canoe and beer brewing. That'd be about right, wouldn't it? Anyway, take it easy, folks. I'm going to go for a rabbit on much longer, and I hope you've enjoyed this build. Please let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time for some tin bashing. Alright, take it easy, folks. Bye bye.